people, this video is called Manifestation Mistakes. I'm going to explain it to you in the best way I can from an internal aspect as well. So these are manifestation mistakes, and I'm going to also explain how to solve them from an internal aspect, which makes it a lot more clearer and easier to understand, in my opinion. Okay, so the first mistake people make is they view external things as their progress or synchronicities. So when I say this, I'm gonna go into detail in what I'm saying. So if you operate on a certain frequency internally, so you now identify as the manifested version of yourself, and you and you visualize and have a visualization of yourself internally, a memory of someone congratulating you on you doing something or accomplishing something, and now you're that version of yourself internally. If you say in that version of yourself you have synchronicities, then yes, in a sense, synchronicities work because you have said or you have made them synchronicities in your reality. So in your subconscious, you have identified them as synchronicities, but they're not synchronicities if you do not identify the thing as a synchronicity, as that version of yourself. So when people look externally, it's a mistake because a lot of them don't operate from that version of themselves. They just think that synchronicity is a synchronicity, when a synchronicity is only something you internally make a synchronicity from that version of yourself. The version of yourself that is one with God, as within, as without. So because you're internally satisfied and internally achieved, you won't have to see it externally. But the mistake people make when manifesting, they think they have to look for it externally when you don't. You have to first operate from a new frequency, so a new awareness, a new internal shift, and then from that internal shift, you are then not emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. So because you're not emotionally dependent on what's going on externally, you're not bothered on what's going on externally, because you know internally you're already operating from that version of yourself. So that's a mistake that people make when they say they're manifesting. They think the signs are outside when they don't make the signs synchronicity. So it can't be a sign if you didn't make it a synchronicity. Anyway, next one is prioritizing a manifestation. Now what I mean by this is as within, as without. So when you are operating from that new frequency and new awareness, new version of yourself, you have to also understand that you're good with or without it. That's very key. You have to understand you don't need it. You're never in need of anything, because when you're in need of anything, you're saying to your subconscious you don't have it. So if you don't have something, you can't have it if you don't have it. So everything you have in abundance. You was born rich. So that's why you have to go back to thinking internally. And then because you're thinking internally and operating from that version of yourself that's already satisfied and fulfilled through your actions, because you have to operate in the doing. You can't literally just sit around and do nothing. You have to then become, through your actions, you have to be that version of yourself internally. So you can't operate from the old version of yourself and expect to get new results. You have to be the new version of yourself, the new frequency of yourself, the manifested version of yourself, and then do the action from that version of yourself, which therefore creates new results. Because there's a new cause, there's a new effect. So as within, as without. But also you have to shift internally to also understand that there's no importance to it, and you have to be good with or without it. You can't need it. The more you need it, the more it will repel. The less you need it, the quicker it will attract, because there's no need of it. So there's no importance. The less importance, the quicker the attraction. Because if there's no importance, it's something that happens a lot. So it's something that's common to you. So because it's common to you, it's expected, which means it will happen more. You just have to be detached from it, and again, good with it or without it. But you have to shift to it internally. You have to understand that internally, not from an external aspect. So the money, let's say how the business is doing, all of that, that can't necessarily knock you off center, because again, that would be looking externally. If you know internally you're already at, let's say, this level in your head, then regardless of how the business is looking, you're already at that level. So this only going up anyway shouldn't bother you, because you're already operating from the version of yourself that's accomplished. And that's essentially the internal shifting. Because you're operating from the better version of yourself already, when you do have that visualization of someone congratulating you in like a quick 5-second scene or like 10-second scene, and you can get into a state of meditation, relaxation, and then visualize someone congratulating you that's significant to you. Once you then identify as that version of yourself and write down your manifested version of yourself, you can then operate from that internal version of yourself once you say, I am that version of yourself. And then through that, you now are that. So again, the new cause, the new frequency, the new version of yourself, you then do the actions through that new version of yourself consciously. And then through that, that visualization now is essentially in the past, because you're operating from that version of yourself that's already done it, that's already accomplished. So that visualization is then in the past, essentially in your mind. And the more you can loop the memory and keep your focus on that memory, the more you can emotionally intensely feel it, which is the language of the subconscious. The subconscious clings to emotional reactions and just emotion within the subconscious. So the more intensely happy or amazing you feel, or congratulated you feel internally and intensely, this will then become more common, because the new version of yourself is used to this. So therefore, these emotions, these positive emotions, will keep happening continuously, because the new version of yourself, the new frequency, the new awareness of yourself, this new identity and the manifested version of yourself is already taken place. So because it's already taken place, you then operate your actions through the successful, already accomplished version of yourself. But you have to first shift to it internally. So that's another mistake people make. They don't actually shift their manifestation. So that's another mistake. Is there any others that I can think of right now? Another mistake people make with manifesting is they consciously, continuously keep trying to manifest. And the thing with that is, because you keep, let's say, saying it over or keep trying to reassure yourself that it's happening, that signals, I wouldn't say nervousness, but it signals that you're not completely certain. Because let's say, for example, if you're playing a game and you know you're going to win, you don't question it. You just say from the beginning, I know I'm going to win. You win it. There's no importance, no significance. So manifestation should be the same thing. It should be, you write it, you have the visualization, you emotion intensely feel it. You now know that's taking place. You now know you're operating from that version of yourself. So you know you'll keep experiencing positive, intense emotions like that. And because you internally shift to that version of yourself, you know this is already taking place. And you don't signal importance to it, as in, as without, you're good with it or without it. And that's how you manifest. You shift internally and you don't become emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. You just rely on how you feel internally, and you assume constantly that you're that perfect version of yourself internally. Just whenever reality tries to confuse you, you just shift it internally, because you realize that reacting is what reality wants you to do. Because when you react, that's the old version of yourself still somewhat trying to gain control of you. But through internally operating, because you know you're already that version of yourself, like I said, that's accomplished, you won't be swayed by what's going on externally, because you know already you're that version internally. So you're not validated by reality no more, because you know internally you're already validated yourself. You have self-validation. So yeah, that is manifestation mistakes and how to solve them.